Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba and welcome to the dive brief. In today's dive brief, I have 5 examples of different regulator first stage designs so that you can better decide which regulator to choose. Too many divers, they focus on the design of the second stage front cover and kind of set their eyes on that, when actually it's the kind of boring looking metal lump of a first stage that's doing most of the heavy lifting in your regulator, and what you should really focus on more, because that's what decides how your hoses are going to be routed and performance in different conditions. First up, we have a nice and compact little first stage, the DC7 from Hollis. That usually comes with a 150 LX second stage. So the DC7 is an inline first stage. So the inlet that attaches to your tank valve is on one end of the first stage, and then the hoses route outwards from the center, a bit like sort of spokes routing out of a wheel. As like most regulators, you'll have one high pressure port on one side, on each side, so you have 2 in total, and then 2 low pressure ports on each side, so 4 low pressure ports and 2 high pressure ports. And they all kind of angle a little bit away from each other to minimize grouping, and hoses all route out at slightly different angles so they go where you need them to. The AquaLLung Legend first stage is similar to the DC7 in that you'll find 1 high pressure port on each side next to 2 low pressure ports. It's a very classic design and very practical for most hose setups on singles and twins, but the Legend has the inlet on one side instead of the very tip, which means that the body of the first stage can be a bit larger, and instead of just becoming longer and poking into the back of your neck, it can go straight up or straight downwards. The benefit of this is that you can have this huge heat sink at the top for cold water performance and to help reduce ice formation. The Mares 82X, you'll notice all of the low pressure ports are right up to one end of the first stage. The tank fitting is halfway down the body, as are the high pressure ports, just like usual, so that you can have a nice long body of a first stage closer to the tank valve. But by having all the low pressure ports all on one end towards the tip, you can have 4 of the 5 ports actually swivel and rotate on a turret that lets you move those hoses on the go even when they're pressurized. The 5th fixed low pressure port routes right out of the tip. Even more sort of hose routing options are opened up with this, because it's, instead of having to come out at 90 degrees and then go straight up, it can just route straight. We call this a 5-port swivel turret. Very similar to the 82X, the Atomic Aquatics T3 regulator has that same rotating 5-port swivel turret, only the first stage itself is made from a different material. Most regulators on the market are made from chrome-plated brass. If it's a shiny chrome color, then it's probably marine brass underneath that. If it's kind of blackened or got a dark grey color, it's probably got a PVD coated brass to it to make it a little bit tougher than chrome. But the T in T3 stands for titanium, far lighter than brass and stronger also. If you're traveling a lot, then titanium makes a huge difference. The only area where titanium isn't as good as brass is in super cold waters, but super cold waters. Continuing on with rotating ports, we have a very unique first stage design in the XDEEP NX700. This is very different to any other first stage in that instead of having the swiveling ports coming out of the top of the first stage, these rotate on a different axis, more like the Hollis DC7. And whilst they can rotate freely, you can also lock them in multiple different positions to your needs, making the NX700 one of the most customizable first stage designs available and very different from anything else. And finally, we have what I call asymmetric with the Apeks Tek3. Tek3 first stages are sold in pairs because they're made to be used on twin cylinders. With twin cylinders, you have 2 tank valves, but the same number of hoses, so the Tek3 only has port plugs to fit hoses on one side. One will have ports down the left-hand side, the other a complete mirror image with ports down the right-hand side. This helps to reduce failure points, and we like to have our hoses routing downwards as much as possible. So you basically just turn the Tek3 on the side so all the hoses face downwards and your hoses are nice and protected. Most regulator designs are made to work with single cylinders. It's by far the most common diving setup, and you have all of the hose routing options you could possibly need from most designs. It's when you start updating and changing your hose routing over the standard out-of-the-box kind of setup, then you'll start to appreciate some of the little design choices and flexibility of hose routing options of different first stage designs. So have a look around. But let me know your favorite design down in the comments below. Personally, I dive the Apeks DST a lot. That's a 5-port swivel turret. The only downside is that the swivel is quite close to the actual air inlet, so the turret doesn't rotate a full 360 degrees when you have hoses fitted, though it's rare that you actually need it to rotate all the way around in the water, but it does the job perfectly for single cylinders, depending on my hose setups, twins perfectly, and side mount as well. And yeah, let me know your favorite down below in the comments. All of these are available on our website, simplyscuba.com. There's going to be links down in the description below, unless of course they've sold out, but yeah, these regulators are quite popular, but yeah, there's going to be links down in the comments below, or sorry, in the description below. Thank you so very much for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.